This is... I'm sorry, but now it has to be this now. Wait. Okay. Good evening, cultists and fiends alike. Welcome to another Alan Moore's Porch. Our host has been called the most prominent voice of our generation. That's mostly because we can't get him to shut the hell up. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jarson Passons. Wait, Justin Parchment. Yeah, Justin Parchment.
Are you just going to give me a stop talking?
Stop talking.
Stop talking.
I was giving you a stop talking.
Holy shit. Welcome, guys, to another edition of Alan Moore's Porch. We have a hell of a show for you tonight. Coming to the desk, though, I have to say... Oh, I house cleaning shit. You can find us on Twitter at Alan Moore's Porch, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search Alan Moore's Porch, you can subscribe to our channel, listening to this episode and the myriad of other entertaining episodes that have gone over 2 hours.
I think you can also find actual Alan Moore dialogue, and you can find hillbillies talking on a porch.
It's really funny actually YouTubing Alan Moore's Porch, because it just peppers in random Alan Moore interviews. Yeah. And he is fucking nuts.
Oh yeah, he's nutty.
Still completely shit splat insane. It's amazing. No. But you can find us on YouTube. Search Alan Moore's Porch. You can subscribe to our channel, rate, comment, share, do whatever it is that you do on the YouTubes. We also have a Facebook page now, because we've sold out to the man as quickly as fucking possible. Just soon as they showed us a dotted line, we jotted. We didn't even fucking sign our names. Big bold X's just to try to get people in the door. You can find us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Alan Moore's Porch.
Is that Thunder, or is that... I keep hearing something. Is that
Garth Brooks? It's Garth Brooks is doing a pickup show.
Okay, he's eating bacon fries next door.
Yeah, next door. Okay. I want to come to the desk because I saw a movie since the last episode that I don't think I've ever seen a better movie that features more people getting kicked in the face and stabbed in the chest. Now this is it's the new Medea movie. I saw Single Wives Club, and I'll tell you, what a roller coaster ride.
Wait, you're telling me that in the Single Ladies Club, like they kick people and stab people in the chest?
Yes, the chick that played on the Reno 911, Whitney, or what's the blonde
Wendy
chick? Punching everybody in the tits. Punching every single character in the tits. No, The Raid. Have you heard of this movie, The Raid?
Wait, are you talking about the French film?
I know for a fact that it's foreign. This is the racist portion of the show. I apologize because I'm probably going to mangle something at some point.
Hey, who's screwing up this country?
It's Malaysian. I'm 75% sure it's Malaysian. Okay.
I'm thinking of The Horde. That's a French.
The Horde is a French zombie movie. The Raid is the best fucking action movie I've ever seen. It's got a super straight A to B premise. There's a crime lord that's holed up in a big tenement building. These SWAT officers have to go in.
I think I've heard of this.
Shit gets real, and there's no backup, and they're trapped in this building, and it's just wall to wall nut punches and just people getting chopped in the throat.
Welcome to the party, pal!
There's a bit where they barricade a door with a refrigerator, and then the lead character puts a propane tank in the refrigerator, turns it around, and then shoots the propane tank, so the door of the refrigerator and the door blows backwards like grape shot, murdering 7 people in the hallway.
God, yeah.
That's not even the craziest fucking thing that happens in the movie, and that's batshit nuts. God, it's so good. If you get a chance, if you rent it, I think it's at Hastings. The second one's about to come out. Holy fucking shit! This movie's. I'm getting verklempt just talking about The Raid. I'm getting the vapors.
I saw something today that kind of ties into what we were going to talk about tonight, and I was going to mention it. I saw the trailer for the new Hercules movie.
How the fuck does it...
Wait, have you seen it?
I have not. I've just seen the poster.
It looks amazing.
Does it really?
It's like it's this gritty voiceover. Before there's a man, there's a legend, and before there's a legend, there has to be a warrior. And like he's just over.
Stop drilling, you hit oil.
And he's like, you gotta decide what kind of man you're gonna be. He's like, are you gonna be a merciless?
Somebody talking to the Rock,
a merciless, and that's
dressing down the Rock.
You just see like all this shit happening.
Yeah,
like people getting shot with arrows, fucking hydras popping out of lakes. And then you see he's like, who are you? And then you see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson standing naked in the rain, just like, I am Hercules! And then you see him with like the lion head cake cowl that Hercules had, and he's holding a giant sword, and I'm like, yes. He's got this gritty black beard, long black hair. It's amazing.
I just have seen...
My ass was in the seat when I first heard, what kind of man are you gonna be?
I have just seen the poster that looks like he's singing. There's a weird poster of just him swinging a sword, and he's like Ronnie James Dio, just fucking sonic walls of rock coming out of the Rock. Yeah. Wordplay like that, everybody. Ain't come Alan Moore's porch. Wubba-lubba-dub-dub.
Eat your heart out, Oscar Wilde's ghost. Spectral, you did something. Spectral Ghost Party?
I have no idea what the fuck you're babbling about. And you're doing like runway shit.
Oh no, if Ronnie James Dio was in a Hercules movie?
Now, who's the guy that's dressed? Is there any other actors
in Tiny Town? Because Ronnie James Dio is 40.
Yeah,
Ronnie James Dio is a goblin. Like,
no, but
he's a very short. Like I love him to death. Rest in peace.
I was going to say you did love him to death.
He was incredible, but he was. You could just put him in your pocket. He was like a little cute. You can put it in your pocket. That's okay. We've got to move on.
Derail.
Just talking about the fucking Rock for 40 minutes. That's the podcast. So we have a new blow up the format. First off, we've got two brand new things that are going to happen tonight during this show. Our guest tonight is the illustrious Mark Finn, and we're going to bring him up in a second. He's an author. He's an actor. The personification of the phrase "basso profundo." He's got a voice that's just pure caramel. It's amazing.
Get your dick out.
I don't know why my nipples are
out of your
talking
mouth.
About this. I'm
Jesus.
Sorry. I apologize, you guys.
Mumble mouth.
I know there's like cartoon hearts floating above my head. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But we have a thing that's happening tonight because I haven't checked in a bit, but I can almost guarantee that we don't have any questions. I am very. You're gonna hear a womp womp. Like every time I open this email account, it's just a sad trombone that plays.
Hey Justin.
Oh shit! We actually it's just
no emails. I'm gonna use the piss out of this.
God damn it! Yes, that's already worth its weight in gold. But we have a thing that's gonna with our live audience. Mark has graciously donated a prize for tonight. So at the end of the show, we're going to take questions from the audience, and the best question, one of the people that came in for off the street from us, kind of piking in the streets. We basically bullied these guys to be here, and I really appreciate you being here. Like I'm slobberingly grateful. But I was like thinking about it now. I was like, these motherfuckers could have been like home and doing anything else.
There's nothing going on.
But they, if whoever has the best question or the best declarative statement, as was asked by these guys, they said, "Is it a question? Can you just plant a flag?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, do that. That's whatever."
If the flag's valid enough.
We've been talking into a vacuum for so long that the only voices we hear are our own. So when
shattered echoes of a distant past,
other people chime in, we cannot get enough of it. But whoever has the best question or declarative statement at the end of the night that leads to a discussion will get this beautiful hardbound copy of the Barry Windsor Smith and Roy Thomas archives of Conan the Barbarian. These are incredible comics that were done during the 70s. It's considered one of the greatest runs of Conan ever. These are beautiful comics. Back when Marvel was just hammered to the fucking nail with these pulp books.
Mint in plastic.
Oh yeah, it's in plastic. Apparently he just has a box of this shit that he distributes like the Candyman. Well, that's a little That's a little
weird.
that has some dark connotations to it.
Yeah.
But keep in mind that through the rest of the show, if you have something,
If he's a heroin dealer or a pedophile,
we'll take him at the end. We'll take him at the end of the show. But our blow up, keeping with our blow up the format segment that we do at the beginning of every episode. Now we're still trying to find the best opening for this show. We're trying to find our thank you notes or our top 10 list.
Top 10, yeah.
Yeah, our fucking drum that we can beat every week, so we don't have to do anything else. We don't have to come up with anything
roll out
else.
the same old
So the one that we have tonight is called 3-word pitch. Now, if you want to submit a blow up the format thing, you can tweet us at our Twitter at Alan Moore's Porch, all one word, or send us an email to alanmooresporch@gmail.com with the subject line blow up the format. Odds are we'll fucking do it. We don't care. Anything you asked us to do, we'll probably do it. We're good whores.
Yeah.
We don't look you in the eye.
My mouth.
We want to do nothing but please you.
This mouth was made for pleasing.
So the concept of 3-word pitch. I'm gonna try to find a explain 3-word pitch.
3-word pitch is something I came up with when I had 3 words. 10-foot goat. That's a pitch.
So that's what we're going to
Terminator baby eater.
Yeah, just whoever can. Yeah, it's just what the 3 funniest words you can come up with that may be a TV show or a movie. It has to be and we're going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Whoever goes over 4 words loses, or whoever runs out of steam first. We're going to time this, but then once again, I'm fucking lazy and I don't want to open up the clock app on my phone. So let me go ahead and cue up the music that we have for this, and then do you want to start or do I want to start?
I can start.
Okay. And go.
Kennedy's Ghost Bar.
Bradley Cooper's Taint.
Smith's Come Alive.
Captain Hitler Camp. I'd watch that. No, God damn it!
No, I'm blessing myself.
I played to the crowd. I'm sorry.
That was 3 words.
Okay, do you want to do 3 rounds, or you? Because I feel like
okay.
Let's do another one.
Okay, I'll start. Michael Jackson's Cheese.
Bootstrap Loggers.
Kill Me When?
It's Train Robbery Orgy. I'd watch that too.
No speaking during the
God damn it!
Okay, so it's 2.
Yeah, it's
1 and 1.
This deciding round. You guys are on the edge of your seat. I can feel it. Kylie Minogue pumping. It's great. That song from The World's End. It's awesome. Okay, me or you?
Me.
Okay.
David Tennant.
Shakespeare's Ghost Dick.
Balls.
Labias.
Cheater!
Okay, I'll take that. Holy shit. Our first ever 3-word pitch winner, Rocky Turner, everybody.
Wow. By default.
Oh my god.
By
I think the problem with that game is that I was just making myself laugh whenever we came up with 3-word pitch. It's just me at home, like making a sandwich, like saying like, Bradley Cooper's dick.
Yeah, I mean,
and not writing any of them down.
No, I didn't write any of them. Like I was just sitting there at work, and I was just coming up with the most inane.
That was a goodie. We got to bring that one back at some point. But like I said, if you had a 3-word pitch, fuck me. Oh God,
Alan Moore's Porch.
Yeah, thank you very much, buddy. The new guy with the save. Holy shit! My peyote's kicking in at this point, so it's gonna get weird for this interview.
Everyone in this audience has Jim Morrison's face right now.
If you have a blow up the format game that you would like us to do, or if you have one to pitch, like I said, tweet us at Alan Moore's Porch, all one word, or send us an email at alanmooresporch, all one word, @gmail.com. So tonight we're going to be talking about pulps. Pulp Fiction, the genre itself.
Not the movie.
This we might even talk about the movie at some point. It's pretty pulpy. Basically, the reason I wanted to talk about this
unfiltered orange juice.
The new guys were like, so you're going to be talking about like juicing and
Yeah.
like vegetable matter and debris. Sounds amazing.
This is actually the first of a green initiative series. We're actually devoting.
Like we bring pomegranates and be like, oh look, it's got weird caviar in it. I don't know what's the fucking deal with pomegranates.
When was the last time you actually saw the food that you were eating instead of processed?
Oh god damn it! I just want to stop the show now because of that. I just we're done.
Rubbing
but
it
we're
in
gonna
our
be.
faces.
The reason I want to talk about this for two reasons. One, because I feel like Pulp, especially nowadays, there's this huge glut of television shows that are just completely throwing themselves into this genre and not giving a shit what they put on the air. American Horror Story, Dracula, Hannibal, like there's some really great examples of it. There's also some profoundly shitty examples of it. And there's also, I feel like Pulp is a genre that people go to the movies and see and not necessarily realize just how pulpy the stuff that they're watching is. When we wanted to talk about this, the first thing that came up was, Brian, appreciate you seeing the show, buddy. Brian just walked in with a fucking sandwich, like with a Cheshire grin, like he's...
like he owns the place.
He's like, I'm the winner! That was a stupid visual joke that I did for nobody, bringing up a dick sandwich to my...
Dick sandwich.
I apologize. The first name that came to mind whenever I wanted to talk about Pulps was a guy that I met over the Christmas holidays. He was gracious enough to audition for the show that I was. I just had a stroke. Did you see that? Oh my god! I smelled cake and I couldn't feel one side of my body. I always do that bit. Do you smell shit whenever you have a stroke?
No, we had someone in the last audience point out that it's a brain aneurysm. You're having an aneurysm.
I'm not convinced. I'm still not convinced.
I think you smell burnt toast when you have a stroke.
I'm still like, come on. I can be a nurse. Like I can print out some sort of something.
I will say I saw one of the.
I saw someone have a stroke and they did not say anything about bacon or cake.
I saw the like one of the dumbest waitresses that I've ever known in a bar. When my wife was giving birth, she was one of the nurses that came in and checked vitals. I was like, you couldn't even get a goddamn drink order right. How the hell did you become a nurse?
You've mixed me 7 and 7s for months.
I was like, I'm kind of, okay, you're just a rotating shift. You're going to be out soon. Good.
But he was gracious enough to audition for a show that I directed down at Backdoor Theater. The guy is a walking encyclopedia of pulp and pulp comics and the genre itself. Motherfucker's written pulps. He's an author. He has a few books out. We're going to give him a chance to plug them whenever he gets up here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the porch, Mark Finn. Slide on in, buddy. We appreciate you.
I'm in the rocking chair.
Yeah.
It's the Smokey and the Bandit terminology. Hi, guys.
Django! We appreciate you being on the show.
Hi, everybody.
I had a strong desire to just leave that song playing throughout the interview, just so we can pick up on the audio. Django! But no, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
I tried to give you a good fluff while you were sitting in the audience as an introduction. Let these people know, like, you have a new book out. I want to give you a chance to plug that first before we get into this.
Well, I'm here because I'm actually a nationally recognized authority on Robert E. Howard, the pulp author who created Conan the Barbarian. He's a Texas author. He created Conan in the 1930s in Cross Plains, Texas. And I wrote a biography about Howard called Blood and Thunder, The Life and Art of Robert E. Howard, which is available and was nominated for a World Fantasy Award and a bunch of stuff.
Fuck me! What the fuck are you doing here? I just hear more of these and be like, why are you wasting your fucking time with us?
But I've done consulting for Dark Horse for their Conan line, and I've worked with Kurt Busiek and Tim Truman and some of the guys who were working on the stuff. I've had a lifelong interest in pulps and wrote with Chris Robertson and Bill Willingham and Matt Sturges when we did Clockwork Storybook. We did some pulp stuff, new pulp. Like, there's actually a new pulp movement going on right now. That's you can see in Dynamite Comics where they're redoing.
Yeah, I have
about to say, I've seen
and then there's the Hard Case Crime books.
Hard Case Crime is doing those things, and there's several companies who are also publishing new versions of the Green Llama and Domino Lady and Airboy and the Valkyrie and all this really great stuff. And so I've dabbled with some of that. I sold it, I collect it. and I've got a book coming out from Fight Card Books called The Adventures of Sailor Tom Sharkey, which is a collection of, let's see if I can get this right, weird, historical, humorous boxing stories.
God damn.
Weird, historical, humorous boxing story.
That's right.
The niche of the niche genres.
Fight Card Books is basically doing nothing but like boxing fiction. Like if you like 1950s mean streets of LA, everybody's on the take. If you like the Butch story from Pulp Fiction, best. Fight Card is your guy.
You have an entire genre just for you.
Yeah, the two guys, Paul Bishop and Mel Odom, have created. Paul Bishop, by the way, is kind of a cool guy. He was on that show, Take the Money and Run. He was that was the reality show where they give you a satchel full of dough and you've got like an hour to hide it.
Yes.
I've never seen this show. This sounds like the best version of Supermarket Sweep in the fucking world.
Way cooler.
Oh my god.
I remember that, and I remember one that was similar was the Human Tracker.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You hunted people on ABC?
Exactly. It's the world's most dangerous game. Oh, yeah.
What
it's awesome.
the fuck?
And they didn't kill him, obviously.
No.
I mean, they didn't kill him. Like, you're so downtrodden.
But when these people get cornered, like, you thought they were going to get murdered. Because there's this one, I remember, the only one I remember, there was a girl, like, knee deep in the middle of a river, and the guy is just sitting there right on the ledge with his horse, and she's like, "No! No!
That's terrifying."
Yeah, you should. Yeah,
I just a quick question after, because that's an amazing list of accolades and achievements. How much pussy does this get you? Just how are you just really like everywhere you go? You're like the Beatles and Ed Sullivan.
If I could express that as a calculus, it would be zip over diddly. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But how did you first come to the genre? Because I kind of came to it very, very ass backwards in that I didn't know about Robert E. Howard until very, very late into my high school. The first guy that I latched onto was H.P. Lovecraft.
Right.
And we talked about Lovecraft a couple times on these on previous episodes, but Lovecraft was the guy because I thought of myself. I was like, I'm listening to Sisters of Mercy, and I'm reading Call of Cthulhu, and you guys are fucking you're just fake plastic people. And then they're like, well, you can just hang out in the janitor's closet for an hour,
right?
Because we don't want to deal with you. So Lovecraft was the first guy that I came to. How did you latch onto the genre?
It's weird, and I should go ahead and just tell you the corollary to your last question. I actually borrow a quote from Alan Moore to describe. All of you may have really had blank looks on your face when I mentioned Robert E. Howard, and I should tell you that being an expert in Robert E. Howard is about as it's like being the world's tallest midget. You know what I mean? That's great. That's great, but you still can't get to the top shelf.
You have a title, but you can't grab oatmeal. Like
but dubious achievement to say the least.
Well, because I did almost the bare essentials of research. I mean, I knew about him. I knew about
stalwart co-host of this one. He's great.
I knew about him, and
the yin to your yang.
I actually I borrowed from the library. The Coming of Conan.
Yeah.
And so I've just been burning through those.
Oh, cool.
And they're amazing.
Yeah.
And then I read part of like how he came up with Conan and what happened, how he lived his life. And then I started to get too depressed, and I flipped back to the fun stories.
What's the name of the town? Because they have
Cross Plains.
Cross Plains. They have a museum
that's on the National Historic Registry,
and it's not even a few hours away.
It's 3 hours from here.
Correct.
Yeah, I'll give you that later in the thing because
like a treasure map. Fuck
there's an annual event that happens every June called Robert E. Howard Days, and
really,
it's really how I got into this. First of all, I have to tell you guys, I'm over 40.
What? No. You are passing.
Yeah.
You're a handsome man.
Well,
I'm telling
thank you very much.
I would have said 28.
I think you have like the Ra's al Ghul goatee.
That's on purpose.
Even with the silver streaks, it's fucking great. Works for you, man.
So over 40 means that I was a kid in the 70s. Now, I'm not going to play the "you kids have it so good today" card because you really do. And here's the difference: in the 70s. there was this weird period of time where you could still find old-time radio on the AM stations, driving in the car at night on Sunday and Saturday evenings. So I could listen to The Shadow, and I could listen to The Inner Sanctum over the radio in the car. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah,
and now we can just look at our internet boxes that we have in our pockets and be like, oh, well, that's the fucking if you dusty and old. What?
If you went to the bookstores, you could find these great, very slim paperbacks of Doc Savage and The Shadow, with these great James Bama covers for Doc Savage and these terrific Jim Steranko covers for The Shadow.
Oh, Jesus, those Steranko covers are incredible.
Oh, boy. And so,
wow, that was erotic.
Nerd willies.
That's nerdgasm.
Got moist.
That is a personification of my feelings towards Jim Steranko. Just a woo, just a cartoon coyote.
So, but there was also the Robert E. Howard books on the shelf with these amazing Frank Frazetta covers.
Yes.
And so, and you would see Frazetta covers on Molly Hatchet albums, and you would see them in record stores and on magic shops. These posters
painted on vans.
Yes.
If I had a fucking van, that's the first thing that I'm doing is just muraling the piss out of that thing.
There you go, a little death dealer on the horse.
Oh my God, shag carpeting, like the fucking...
Yes. And whatever you do, don't put a window in the back because that just spoils it. So anyways, all this stuff was out there, and there wasn't internet to go to. If I wanted to look up something, I had to go to the library, and if they didn't have a book that told me about who these guys were, I was kind of shit out of luck until I found a book that did. And so I had the joy of the hunt. For one thing, I literally, if I liked this stuff, I had to go find it. I was the kid whenever Marvel Comics, I'd be reading a Marvel comic and somebody would mention something, and then there'd be that little
Avengers
127, and I would go, no! Then I'd have to go find Avengers 127. I was that guy.
The thought of you just reading a comic being like, those assholes!
Oh my God.
And just screaming to the sky,
it killed
God
me.
damn you!
So I was really interested in, I got interested in what had gone on before. I wasn't so interested in the new. I could get the new. But whenever DC would do a 100-page special and put a Golden Age Batman story in it, I was like, yeah. Who's this Riddler guy? Yeah, and so or whatever. And so that's how I got interested in it. And when I was 12, well, I'll tell you, I came to Howard through Dungeons and Dragons. The original hardcover AD&D books had in the Dungeon Master's Guide there was an appendix that's legendary now. If you Google Appendix N, I think it is, it pops up as recommended for further reading.
Holy shit!
It is.
That's amazing.
It is it's the Rosetta Stone. Yes, it's if you want to know how Dungeons and Dragons was formed, here's the blueprint right there. And
just like Gary Gygax and his friends getting super high and going like, "Fucking tell him to read what's his name," and just taking a huge hit and be like, "Oh, and fucking Stranger to Strange Lands."
It was all that stuff, and so I got real interested in Robert E. Howard because at the time I was playing Dungeons and Dragons was right at the time when Conan came out, and it was everywhere, and I was very excited about this. It looked like Dungeons and Dragons, but I couldn't see it because it was rated R until we got it on HBO, and then Mom's got to sleep.
Eat it, nerds!
So I got a Robert E. Howard book for a birthday. I asked for Conan books, and somebody bought me the first Conan Volume 8, which is Conan the Usurper. It's the Frazetta cover. His back is you don't even see him from the front because you don't even need to know what Conan looks like at this point. But you just know that that's the guy. Coming through his legs in an obviously unphallic symbol is a giant snake that is poised over his head, and he's in chains with this snake,
penis snake,
dick, and a giant throbbing python-like dick.
And at 12, with testosterone coursing through my body,
there's nothing greater.
Like BB's down a rain gutter. I'm just like,
the greatest thing you've ever seen. And that's when I first started getting into him. Because Lovecraft is definitely the opposite side of that coin.
Yes,
it's just nothing but like somber cosmic horror. Nothing that you do on this planet matters.
That's right.
The gods are laughing at you, and they will fuck you over at any chance that they get. But then when I first started reading Robert E. Howard, I came to it through Solomon Kane, which is the other creation that Robert E. Howard is famous for, is this avenging Puritan named Solomon Kane who wears full pilgrim outfits, like giant hat, the fucking buckle shoes, the cape and everything, and murders people with swords constantly. Like every story like just has a body count of 6. Like that's the baseline of just his body count. There's one series of stories that's just him murdering people to track down someone else to murder.
Yeah, it's the first one. It's Red Shadows, which is, by the way, considered to be the invention of sword and sorcery. Howard is credited with the guy that created sword and sorcery. He was the guy that took these historical or pseudo-historical time periods and leavened into it weird, menacing, supernatural things that couldn't be explained, or that were part of the world that were just sort of forgotten about. And it sounds really like basic, but no one had done that before. I mean, there was mythology, which was a different animal because it tried to explain it, and there was a reason for it. This was just like all this stuff was a holdover. So literally the first Solomon Kane story is he's walking on the beach, there's a fire from a village that some pirates had hit. There's a girl crawling on the beach. He walks up to her. She's dying. He picks her up to try and comfort her, and he says, "Who did this?" And she said, "It was the French pirate, the Wolf. Him and his men. They raided our village."
LeChuck.
They
call
his Leloup.
Monkey Island fans out there. And so, just nothing but fucking blank faces. Just
And so he kind of gets the impression that they had their way with her before they killed her, and so she,
as pirates are wont to do,
like you do. Well, if you're raping and pillaging, you can't leave the first part off.
Standard operating procedure.
It can't be and pillage.
We boarded this ship. I mean, we might as well do it, guys.
So so she dies in his arms.
We soft shoot rape.
They edit that out. Like, goddamn, I feel real dirty about that.
Except that since we're talking about fiction, no one really got raped. So she dies in his arms, and he stands up and says, "Men shall die for this." Cut to 1 year later, the remnants of the pirates are running through the forest, fleeing from the demon they call Solomon Kane. He has winnowed their forces, their entire pirate ship, down to like 6 guys, and they are holed up, hiding from him, scared to death. And the wolf is like, he's just a man. And like, you don't understand. He's killed all of us. Don't you get it? And so, that's what's
so fucking good. And just like as a kid, because I came to it about the same age, and it's just. There's nothing greater. There's nothing more fun than just kind of sit in your room. You put on a King Crimson album, and then you fucking read Solomon Kane.
Turn off.
It's so fucking good. And it's one thing that every time I talk to somebody about Pulps,
flow downstream.
I should be talking about Robert E. Howard, but I always end up talking about Lovecraft, and they're like, we feel weird looking you in the eye, so we're gonna go over here. But Robert E. Howard is just. I think Stephen King has this great quote about how prose crackles off the page. It gives off so much energy. Because while Lovecraft was very a student of Gothic literature and kind of the very deep, dank, very morose prose, Howard gives no fucks about how entertaining his story is. Like he does want nothing more than to swash every buckle, to bring every evildoer down.
I was gonna say I was reading some of those stories, and I read one. And as soon as I read it, I'm sitting in the break room at work, and I just start chuckling to myself, and I'm like, "God damn it, yes!" Because there was this huge battle on this snow plane, and there's only 2 fighters left.
Frost Giant's
daughter, Conan, and the other guy, and he's
the enemy.
The enemy, and he sits there, and he's like, "What is your?" He's calling out to Conan. He's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "I want all my brothers to know." The last person that was slain in this battle. And he's like, when you see your brothers in the afterworld, he's like, you tell them that Conan the Cimmerian sent them there. Sent you there. And he's just calling out this dude, and then they just...
There's another quote, I don't remember what story it's from, but it's always something that stuck with me just because it seems like such a fucking tattoo-worthy quote that somebody would have if they were super into
by Crom?
It's no. It's like somebody's like if you take away or if you try to touch me, I'll varnish this floor with your brains. Like as a fucking 13-year-old, you're just like, what? Why read any other book? Like books are obsolete at this point. Robert E. Howard has perfected the entire medium. There's nothing else better. I want to kind of shift because we could spend the entire episode talking about this. I want to shift a little bit more into kind of what's a guy that really is synonymous to Pulp with me, but he's working right now, and he's been working for a while. Shane Black, the guy that wrote Lethal Weapon. He recently wrote and directed Iron Man 3.
Yep.
He wrote and directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He's super. He seems to be very much a student of Pulp, and I don't know if we've ever really talked about his movies. I wrote it down just because I saw like the tail end, I think, of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I was like, oh, Shane Black, and so I jotted it down. I don't know if we get any mileage out of that.
Well, no, it's really the thing. Shane was, of course, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang revolves around this collection of what
the Johnny Gossamer books,
right? The Johnny Gossamer books, which are they're kind of a take on the old gold medal paperback originals. These books that were sold in bus stops for 20 cents, and as paperback originals, these were all written by guys who came home from World War II with PTSD. And didn't know how to kind of exorcise those demons, so they started drinking and writing, and so this period of 50,
they got a bottle of old 77 and a typewriter.
This period of like the 50s with what they call the noir writers like Jim Thompson and David Goodis and Cornell Woolrich and. I hope you
guys are taking notes. There'll be a test later.
Horace
McCoy,
the guy that wrote They Shoot Horses, don't they? But there were a lot of guys that came back and just kind of took that 1,000-yard stare and put it into a novel.
Yeah.
And so it's those of course have a root antecedent in Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, who came out of the pulps. Who came out of the pulps from the 20s and 30s. Raymond Chandler, more than anybody, set the style book for American detective fiction.
Yeah.
He invented first-person smartass.
And kind of Philip Marlowe
and kind of as an ancillary first-person unreliable, and so if you liked the voiceovers in Blade Runner, think Chandler. If you ever watched the Thin Man stories and went, my God, how cool would that be? That's Dashiell Hammett, and these guys all wrote this stuff. There were camps of them. Those were the Black Mask boys were all in L.A. Mm-hmm. And so that's why that's all got that kind of Mean Street kind of deal. Weird Tales was out of Chicago, and there was a group of guys around that, and then there was a whole bunch of guys publishing stuff in New York, and so there were these like areas where these like clumps of writers were gathered, and they would hang out and they would go to drink and they would get sandwiches when it was payday, and they'd hang out at the offices and they'd go, hey, I need 500 words by noon. Gotcha. And he'd grab a typewriter and type 500 something.
Like just a pack and a half of cigarettes and 97 pages.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I love talking about the genre, just mainly because the ripple effects that you have from some of these, from a Robert E. Howard or an H.P. Lovecraft or Raymond Chandler, just you can't help but see the influences on every. And I wrote down a list of shows that right now I feel like Justified. Of course, that's Elmore Leonard, which is he's a god of the pulps. But there's also there's stuff like Hannibal, and there's American Horror Story, The Killing, all of these kind of gritty, stylish, because that was the one thing about pulps, is that it wasn't just kind of grim and dark for the purpose of being grim and dark. There was always a stylized edge to a lot of these because they're just so fucking cool. No one was writing books like this.
That's right. You think about the pulps in terms of Pulp Fiction was sort of the movie that sort of made that phrase kind of have a sort of a connotation.
Gave a face to the populace.
It gave a face to the thing, and it's sort of a misnomer because the actual pulp market was so varied and so wide open. They made pulps about everything. For one thing, there were pulps about there were romance pulps, there were horror pulps.
There's still romance pulps.
There were superhero pulps like The Shadow and
just how distraught and angry you were whenever you
said
that. There's you're really just the old man at the bar. There's still werewolves out there.
Well, there's the Harlequin. Harlequin still has a huge publishing.
I completely forgot about the Harlequin book.
The romance industry is a direct outgrowth of that. Yeah, and so many of those models are monthly novels.
Yeah.
So there you go. But there were even pulps. But there was a whole bunch of specialized pulps, like the boxing stories. Boxing pulps were a specialized thing. There was one guy who specialized in doing very niche markets. There was one issue of Engineering Stories.
Wow, jeez! Let's stop the presses. We've got a hit, Johnny.
Thrilling tales of the men who build the civilizations. Oh yeah,
jeez.
There were 4 issues of Zeppelin stories.
Just people hanging around on blimps.
Well, yeah, because at the time, popular science.
Howard Hughes without the sex and crazies.
Popular science and popular mechanics were doing a lot of theoretical models.
Gotcha.
And so that was still a possibility. And Zeppelin stories would be a footnote were it not for issue 3's cover, which features a dirigible. From which is extended probably 50 feet of rope ladder. Hanging at the end of the rope ladder is an orangutan, and underneath him is a guy in a parka holding a wrench, and they are locked in combat. And the title on the front cover is "The Gorilla of the Gas Bag" by Gil Brewer.
I now know what I have to paint my house.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know. That's
fucking incredible.
Oh, I know. And you want to know? Here's the thing: there's only like a few copies of this thing that are known to exist. They're in private collections. No one I know, and I know a lot of weird-ass people, no one I know has ever even read the story.
Why do you have to? That tells you everything you need to know.
There's a part of us that, there's a whole group of guys in my circle of friends that that's our thing. We can die happy when we read it.
The Holy Grail, the monkey wrench story.
One guy got a collector to take a bad picture of the first page, and and all it is on the first page is 2 guys sitting at the fire going, "I have a story that's so preposterous to tell, I don't think you'll believe me. Oh, try me with it. Oh, I don't think I should. Oh, I think you should. Oh, I don't think you should. Oh, I think you should. All right, then, very well, I'll tell you. It all started end of the page. Son of a bitch! So I still don't know what the deal is.
A monkey, a bottle of gin, and a dirigible. Make your own story, chap. Like, what the...
Well, 2 years ago... God damn. 2 years ago at ArmadilloCon in Austin...
Wait, whoa, back the truck up. ArmadilloCon?
Oh, yes, it's a literary science fiction convention set in Austin. Yeah, they do it every year.
So real fuckfest. Just everybody,
knee-deep trim.
Yes.
3 fingers deep in every table.
Go. It's like a bowling ball.
Easy. Hey, you fucking take it easy out there. I hear your revulsion, and I recognize it, okay? You're fine. Everybody's fine.
I think it's the image...
knee-deep trim.
I think
putting boots on.
I think it's that combined with the image of us 3 guys knee-deep in people. Like, that's horrifying.
Like walking through a Bigfoot convention.
There's more trimming here than on a butcher's floor.
Oh, God.
So, a few years ago, we did a panel called Gorillas in Science Fiction, and I did a challenge to the guys on the panel. I said, hey, if you just had the cover, what would your story be? And we all were kind of pitching it. Mm-hmm. And Joe Lansdale was in the audience and says, yo, you know what you ought to do? You ought to make that a challenge. And everybody went, all right. So we all went away and came back next year with our story that we had all written about the Gorilla of the Gas Bags. And so there's actually a variety of people who have written this stuff. And some of them even gotten them published.
It's like the ending of Clue, just 7 gorilla stories.
Yes, it could have gone like this.
God, but it actually went like...
Incredible. Like, just stop fucking making movies. Stop putting out magazines. Just give me Gorilla of the Gas Bag 3, The Reckoning. Well, and I'll put down my money every time.
If you guys want to read, one, Bill Kreider is a mystery and Western writer. He's actually got his on Amazon Kindle for 99 cents. Uh-huh. And it made an appearance in Ellery Queen a couple of months back. And 2 of the people who are featured in the story, one of them is a guy named Mark Finn, who gets to wear a gorilla suit, which is another thing that I need to check off my
bucket list. Right done.
Yeah, there you go. And hey, that's not furry. I want to go on record. That is not furry. It is not furry. There's less than 2% DNA difference between gorillas and me. All right, so that doesn't even count.
Just how quickly you planted that flag. It's just like this audience. You felt them moving away.
I did.
So you got them back.
It's all cool.
Hang on, guys.
We're in the same family here. If I've got a foxtail stapled to my butt, make all the fun you want. If I'm wearing the rabbit ears, go to town. Throw tomatoes at me. But if I'm wearing the gorilla suit, you better recognize.
Oh no, yeah.
Step back and recognize.
Just see see you walking up, baby, like in a gorilla suit. Hey, get fucking like, God, amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's good to do visuals at a podcast.
Yeah, podcast. I'm really these jokes are really gonna pop. God damn it!
Like Jello against the wall.
So anyway, so where I was going before we dined at the Tangent Cafe is all of this pulp stuff. What the term what Tarantino kind of appropriated it for is that it was often this quick, disposable literature. And it was, of course, it was considered trash because it wasn't the real stuff.
Most of them didn't even max out 100 pages, right? They were
about some of them were 160, 120. Yeah. When they went to digest, they shrunk down, but the ones from the golden age, the 20s and 30s, those were sometimes 160 or 200 pages.
Okay.
So, but what they had in them was, I mean, you got to think of stuff like Doc Savage, where Lester Dent. Kenneth Roberson wrote basically a 60,000 word novel every month.
Yeah,
so I mean, and
because Doc Savage was one of the more serialized ones because most of the times these are kind of just one and done stories starring these characters. But Doc Savage kind of broke that mold a little bit by telling this giant epic about this one guy and his friends.
And Walter Gibson, writing as Maxwell Grant, was writing Shadow, and the Shadow got so popular that they were doing a twice a month schedule. And so he was doing a 50,000 word novel every 2 weeks.
Jeez Christ.
And so that is, just to give you guys, just for some scale here, the novel I'm currently writing is at 32,000 words. It's taken me about a month, writing about 1,500 words a day. So these guys were cranking, into what the story, and it's apocryphal, but it's illustrative, is Lester Dent would start typing in the morning. And he would type basically until the thing locked up on him. And then he would go into the kitchen and have a sandwich and keep typing until that locked up on him. And then he'd go into the sunroom and just take the page, put the new one in. And so he had 3 typewriters that he would basically write on until they got too hot to operate,
Christ on a bike. Like
whether or not that's true or not, it's also, nevertheless, that's a lot of words to crank
also,
out.
speed was super readily available back then.
That's right.
People were taking Dexedrine,
Coca-Cola, and cocaine.
That's what in the latest issue of Satellite Sam. There's a bit kind of like that where one of the writers of the show has to write the show in like a day and a half, and it shows him taking Dexedrine. Pouring himself a glass of scotch, and then it's just like it's a bunch of panels of him getting deeper and deeper and deeper into writing, and then the next panel is him in a bathrobe going like, "Fuck me, it's Sunday? Oh God!" And him like bouncing out and looking at what he wrote. He's like, "Oh fuck, I'm a talented motherfucker." And then, oh God damn it! It's just the sheer amount that.
And part of that kind of lends a little bit to the notion that, well, if you're writing it that fast, it must not be very good. And of course, the answer to that is well, shut up.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
like,
you don't know.
This is selling. Like
you have to remember that as a market, it's just like any other, right? Theodore Sturgeon is very famous for saying 90% of everything is pure crap. And I find that that's a percentage you can apply to just about everything. And so, especially with the pulps, because there was, if you read an issue of Weird Tales. Right? Grab an issue of Weird Tales and you'll be like, oh, cool. Well, here's an Edgar Allan Poe story I've already read. That's pretty good. Oh, here's a Lovecraft poem. That's neat. Oh, here's a Robert E. Howard story. That's great. And then here's this is kind of... Well, this
real
is,
turd in the punch
really,
bowl.
Yeah.
A lot of chaff.
The reason why we know who Dashiell Hammett is and Raymond Chandler and H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard and Horace McCoy and all these other guys, the reason why we know them and we don't know the other people that were in all of these other pulp magazines is because this is the cream rising to the top.
Right.
This is the upper 10 to 15%, and and then there's another like 5, so probably 20% of the writers who were worth reading, either as enjoyable reads, nothing special, significant because of what they wrote and how and when, or geniuses, literally geniuses like Howard and Chandler and Lovecraft. 20% of the total number of pulp guys who ever wrote. And most of that stuff it's not even around anymore. It's literally dying under our feet. The Library of Congress is actually trying to digitally scan the pulps in their collection before they disintegrate.
Jesus.
If you go to the Library of Congress and you tell them you want to look at the pulps, they go, okay. And you say, and I'm bringing a data stick, and they say, okay. And then you can go and anything that's digitally scanned,
that's amazing.
You plug your data stick in, and instead of hitting print, for 25 cents a copy, you hit save to the desktop for a zip over diddly, and you can get your pulps.
That's the thing. Like, I went on. I have a Kindle now. My wife bought me a Kindle for Christmas. And,
I knew a kid named Kindle, and I always hate that. I hate that it's named Kindle.
I knew an asshole named Kindle too. I think that's just a thing. It's just like you meet a guy named Kindle, you're like, oh, so you're just gonna be a dick. Like I just like, okay, this guy did magic. We've talked about this guy before. He did magic. That was his play. Like to get.
Wait, none of you are named Kindle, are you?
No, none of these.
Okay, they started shifting around, and I was like, shit, did we just offend this?
Every single one of us. Yeah, everybody knows an asshole Kindle. But he would just like, he would do. What, I'm sorry?
Girl.
Awful! It wasn't she. She was the worst! God. Just don't even. I don't need to know a thing about her. I just know that she's the worst.
So your wife got you a Kindle.
She got me a Kindle, and he's a dick.
He's an absolute douchebag. A real motherfucker.
Just wake up every day. It's like, you motherfucker.
Lay in this house and don't do shit.
He got me a Kindle, and I went. One of the first things I did was try to get some more Robert E. Howard books, and I think I actually have his entire collection now for 75 cents, like on the dollar. Like it was just, they were giving it away. You have a lot of the stuff. You have probably about 40%. Yeah, I would imagine I don't have all of it.
It's what's in public domain, and it's pretty close. There's some really good stuff, and there's some things that are in the Del Rey versions that are kind of worth. If you get the horror stories of Robert E. Howard, that's got all the Cthulhu Mythos stories that he wrote.
Yeah, I really want to fucking read those.
Some good stuff in there.
We
just nerded out.
We're gonna start wrapping up. Mark, thank you so fucking much for this episode. This has been crackerjack. I really appreciate you being on the show.
I'm thank you. I'm glad to be here. The problem is that I was going to talk about this shit anyway. So
regardless of whether we showed up,
post up at a bar, say, listen, I need a shot and a pint. When they get about halfway empty, bring me another.
There you go.
I'm going to talk about everything.
So
I'm going to let you fuckers know about Robert E. Howard up until he died.
Just real quick, I kind of want to touch on this because I don't know if you've seen it, but I have, and I feel like I'm one of the only people that'll carry the flag for this movie. John Carter. Have you guys seen the movie John Carter?
Yeah.
Did you see John Carter?
I read the book.
Fucking amazing. And it's Burroughs is a guy that's a big pulp guy. We didn't really touch on him because we were talking about Howard. But I fucking love John Carter. I do not understand the venom that's heaped on that movie.
Well, two things. One, the problem with it is there was no way to do that movie until about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because of what was required in terms of special effects. There was just no way to do it until they figured out how to do Golem, right? And so, because all the green Martians are 12 feet tall and four-armed,
and voiced by Willem Dafoe,
and literally every monster, everything on Mars.
Have you never seen this movie? Just every piss out of this movie. It's amazing.
Everything on
a screening at some point. It's a goodie.
Everything on Barsoom has multiple arms and multiple legs, and it's huge. The giant white ape is so you couldn't have done it any other way. Then
there's the bone density stuff. The fact that the basic story is John Carter. He's a Civil War vet. He gets transported to Mars and then becomes a warlord of Mars. But because he's human, his bone density is such that the gravity of Mars affects him differently, so he can jump like the Hulk across the planet's surface.
And is much stronger.
And is very strong. Yeah. It's just fucking candy. It's amazing.
It's one of the first books that ever kind of does this sort of
my kind of batshit nuts.
Yeah. And by the way, if you read the Burroughs story, in the movie, he gets to Mars 15 minutes in once we've learned a little bit about his Civil War thing. In the book, happens on page 3. No wasted effort.
Get him in the seats.
That's right. He's on Mars on page 3. I walked out of the cave in a strange new world.
And then here I was.
It's like Burroughs is like John Carter of Mars. I gotta get him to fucking Mars.
Yeah,
like,
I can't be hanging around. Yeah.
Stage brushes. Hanging out with Bryan
Lincoln's president. We're at war. Brother fighting brother. I wonder if there's a good place to shit in this cave. Hey, I wonder what's happening outside. Wait a minute. Martians.
Oh God, it's so fucking good. You have books available.
Yes, if you go to Amazon.com, I'm under Mark Finn.
You're under Mark Finn?
Yes. Yeah, well, I can be found
sexually under Mark Finn.
Yes. Blood and Thunder is there if you want to read about Robert E. Howard. I've got a story collection called Empty Hearts. which is the softer, more sensitive side of Mark Finn.
That's the Sade listening.
That's right.
So the Iron Maiden fucking.
But the next book, so the two things that are about to come out is the Tom Sharkey book from Fight Card, and also the first of a 3-volume thing, which is very much in your wheelhouse. It's called The Transformation of Lawrence Croft, or The 3 Days of the Condorks. And it's about a group of friends who go to a fantasy, science fiction, and gaming convention, and the fat gamer ends up being possessed by the Roman god of manure, Stercutus. And
wait a second. Hang on. This is a real. That's a god. Like that's a real god.
Yeah.
Roman. All right.
What do you do?
Where can I pre-order this?
Well, it's coming. It's coming soon, and so
I've still got the image when you were like, "That's the softer or sweeter side." I honestly just pictured you in like the what is it? The fireplace, bearskin rug. Good evening, ladies.
Like pouring Cavassier, putting on. Like,
how would you like to rock your sweet ass to bed?
That's right. Would you like to talk about Burt Reynolds movies?
Gator? You've never seen Gator? It's a goodie.
So
Sip.
If you guys really get into Robert E. Howard and want to know more, there's a website and a Facebook page for Robert E. Howard Days. If you do a Google search for Robert E. Howard Days, it comes up. It's always the second weekend in June. I'm usually one of the regulars there. We bring guests in. Last year we had Tim Truman and Joe Lansdale there.
Nice.
And it's a very cool, like a very concentrated gathering of guys who literally come from all over the country and sometimes from other countries as well, just to hang out, and they get tours of the house. They get to hold
I've always wanted to see
Robert
the
E.
house
Howard
and
manuscripts.
go to
It would absolutely be worth a road trip. You could do an Alan Moore's Porch on the road. And
hang on, you're giving us a shit ton of credit there. Like this is
This
is a real fucking garage operation here. Like we just now got a piano.
It's
wait.
This is
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a road trip. Road trip. Robert E. Howard. Road trip. Okay.
I can also be followed on Twitter.
We're just gonna pick up and go on.
Mark Finn.
Motherfucker, this is a marathon. We gotta keep picking up.
Finn's Wake is my Twitter handle. Finn's Wake, and also Mark Finn, the author, on Facebook. So.
Kind of like Finnegan.
And all that stuff. I'll be putting out stuff. I've got about 6 things coming out this year, and I'm still in limbo. Is the Fruit Ninja comic, which we never got to talk about, but Fruit Ninja is allegedly on deck still, so that may be happening soon.
Like a comic based on the
if you can swallow the conceit that ninjas cutting fruit perfectly releases energy that they draw into themselves and powers their ninja abilities. If you can buy that, I will rock your world with this comic.
So this is like a CW show.
Be prepared to make $1,000,000 yen.
Yeah,
You were going to be the richest white guy in Japan.
Yeah, at this point you can see cartoon sacks of money.
I want Bitcoin stock.
We actually have a question.
Ooh.
We have 2 questions. Holy shit!
Is the second question, when God is this episode going to end? Because I'm thinking somebody might have sent it mid-show.
I'm gonna attribute that to the fact that I have a Wikipedia page.
Oh god damn it! This is
He does have a Wikipedia page because I weirdly enough I looked up Robert E. Howard.
Oh, and got to me that way.
And I was looking up Robert E. Howard. I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh god, that's how he died. That's terrible.
It's sad.
And then it was like, oh, here's more story. It's like, for more information. I was like, wait a minute. Click. That's the motherfucker that's always in the audience.
Oh, and one more thing. If you go to the Cromcast, which is a podcast for guys that talk about Robert E. Howard, it's a really cool show. There's a free episode of a thing that I did with my old-time radio troupe, the Violet Crown Radio Players back in Austin. We did a recording of one of Robert E. Howard's funny boxing stories called Waterfront Fist, and it's currently free to listen to and download from the Cromcast.
That sounds amazing.
So you can just do a Google search for the Cromcast and it'll pop up, and it's right under the current episode.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But like I said, Mark, thank you.
All right, questions.
Very much.
Let's do questions.
Yeah. So this question comes from. I'll let you do music for that one.
I'm just fucking around.
Just hitting 2 buttons.
No, I told you I have no discernible music talent.
It's important that we have an Asia-style keyboard for that. Then.
This comes from a previous guest on the show, Wesley Hollingsworth.
Oh, cool.
He was fantastic. He gives us, what area of our culture do you see being the most influenced from Pulp Fiction? This is a multiple. There's a bunch of random questions. He also has like a weird tangent at the very end that I think he may have
blacked out.
Yeah, while he was typing. It's
ASDFJK.
Comics and films, most definitely.
Yeah.
Television is now starting to kind of get there with these shows that I mentioned, and I feel like television is kind of embracing the genre a little bit more because of the serialized nature of a lot of these shows.
Well, and I would think that TV kind of ran with the gauntlet a lot earlier than movies, because movies you've got one big shot, and then if it goes up in flames.
For the audience at home, he did a jerk-off motion
and the explosion. You've got one shot
3 times, and then he finished.
But no, you've got one shot, and if you don't make it, you're screwed. You have a TV show. If you have a couple of shitty episodes, people will stick around.
Hannibal is the one that I really, really go to first, because I think it's embracing the genre to a point that's accentuating all of the good things about said genre and with the serialized form. The second bit that he gives to us: what video games can you think of that are seemingly ripped from the pages of Pulp Fiction? Grand Theft Auto, definitely.
Assassin's Creed.
It's with the historical setting, the weird screwy shit in the middle of it. L.A. Noire, I think, is a really
really
awesome
so
video
good.
game. I loved it.
That no one played because you can't, bang hookers in it, which frustrates me because it was exactly what I wanted out of that.
It's Ken Cosgrove from Mad Men, fucking bracing people. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets wearing smart suits. It's awesome.
And it's a legitimate noir in that as soon as he gives up to the woman, he is doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's cool about it, is it's a real noir. So it's kind of a downer, and if you're not into that, I could see it. But for me, I was like, woohoo!
Yeah, the narrative
Finally!
The narrative satisfaction that I got out of that game is immeasurable.
Yeah.
The third bit that he gives us, and here's where
the Ramblers?
Here's where he kind of goes off the rails, guys, so I'm sorry. Favorite Pulp Fiction type movie, parentheses, other than Pulp Fiction, you dunces, close parentheses, ... I know you immediately thought of Pulp Fiction. No is in all capital letters.
No. ...
And that means you're now under my control. ... I made you think of something. Inception is possible! Exclamation point. He's like celebrating himself at the very end of it. Like he's like, I nailed that. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, just right off the top of the bat. Sweet Smell of Success, which I just recently watched. I'd never seen it before.
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, Flash Gordon. Yeah, somebody had to do it. It's like the clapper. Like you say that, it happens. John Carter, I really fucking loved.
I'll trump you both. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Jesus, yeah.
Super pulp.
If you go to my my blog, I built a.
Listen, I gave you your pimping.
I built a Raiders influence chart that shows how Raiders of the Lost Ark literally is responsible for everything I do.
It's Kevin Baconing it.
It is.
That is awesome. But no, definitely Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, John Carter. Tintin. I really loved the recent adaptation of Tintin. I thought that was extremely pulpy.
Billy Zane's Phantom.
Jesus Christ, Billy Zane's Phantom. Yet another movie that if you haven't seen it, it's a real turd in the punch bowl, but it is an entertaining one to boot.
Billy Zane is great at it.
Treat Williams is the villain.
Yes! Show me the power! Yeah!
That is a direct line of his... it's great. There's like magic rings, and Billy Zane's wearing a purple unitard. It's awesome.
But Zane in it rocks. It's a shame that the rest of the movie does not follow along with him. He's awesome.
I also really liked Alec Baldwin's Shadow. I love Alec Baldwin's Shadow. And it is not a good movie.
No.
It is a bucket of boiled assholes.
The thing that sold me on that movie was when I watched it as an older individual. I watched it, and it was like him and the ancient, distant son of Khan.
Yeah.
We're sitting there talking.
And all of a sudden they're comparing ties.
And he's like, say, that's a dashing tie. Where did you get it? He's like, Brook Brothers. It was on sale this week. Like, because that's what they did in the fucking radio serials. They were like, where'd you get that swell suit? Well, I got it down at Brook Brothers on 56th and 4th. Like,
worst. Oh, it's just so angry.
Our next question before we start taking
Ian McKellen doing a shitty American accent?
You sent it. It's getting fucking red. Another former guest, Shauna Mims, who is in the audience.
Cackling like a mad woman.
Who is the crone you hear in the background laughing. She asks, what's a comic book? Not the punchline. The punchline's coming. Sent from my iPhone.
A comic book is something you can go to Comixology and download.
Or this fine shop,
there you go.
Geekopolis. There are tons of comics. I was going to
make an 87-degree angle with your body, and then just keep walking until you hit a wall. Grab everything around you and just open it up.
I was going to thank him because he's here and he actually gets a chance to hear it. If you guys could give a big round of applause to Brian, the owner.
Yes,
of
for putting up with this.
Utter
nonsense.
For allowing us to do this and not actually thinking.
Argle-bargle.
Okay, so
Argle-bargle. Trademarked.
We're gonna try to make this quick. Does anybody for the Conan book? Do you have a question?
Yes.
Brian's hand immediately went up.
Mine is not a question so much as a correction. Writing and directing Iron Man 3 is not.
You go fuck yourself! We are getting another venue. We are done with this place. I will salt the earth.
I will say. The one line in that goddamn movie that's worth an Oscar.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple.
I mean, there's a few of them, but the one that was like immediately, I was like, yes, just yes. He's like, when Iron Man's literally walking through blasting motherfucking security guards, and then that one guy's like, you know what? I don't even like working here. These guys are weird, and he leaves, and he just lets him walk out because he's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm out.
Shane Black, ladies.
The fact that Shane Black gives you henchmen that you want to watch an entire movie centered around. Yeah. It's like him and those assholes that are giving him shit about the watch. But seriously, does anybody have a question for the Conan book?
Otherwise, we let it ride.
Jeez. Brandon had his one up front.
This is for your softer side. Well,
okay.
Was your author picture different from the Sade book compared to the...
Before you address this question, why are you Leon Phelps, the ladies' man, while I ask this question? You're affecting like this weird... I mean, it's doing stuff for me. I'm not going to say it's not.
I'm digging it, yeah.
That is okay. For the audience at home that didn't pick that up, Brandon in our audience asked, is your author picture for your softer side book different?
Sade book. Yeah. He said Sade
book. Yeah. For the longest time, my headshot was a picture of me naked from the waist up, standing in front of an American flag with boxing gloves, bald, and ready to knuckle up.
I don't think this is a fucking joke.
No, yeah, it's in there.
This is not a bit.
I have since changed my my bio to something a little more rakish, if you will.
Is it the one from Wikipedia?
It's the one from Wikipedia.
It's him. Yeah, it's super. It's super.
What's
like
the one from Wikipedia?
It's him, just like bottom lip, just.
I look very smug. I look so self.
Go ahead. I dare you to ask me a Robert E. Howard question. Like that's what he like.
Yeah. You were saying something about gorilla suits.
That was a good. Yeah, that's a goodie. I still.
Yes, it is a different.
You should have kept the boxing gloves. That's gonna move more units, man.
It really. Well, I'll put that back on.
Because then he'll be confused with the old knockout champ from California. What's his name?
Butterbean.
Lovely.
Oh, you're both big dudes. You're both big dudes, and if you're bald and have boxing gloves, someone's going to open the book. Oh, hey, look, Butterbean wrote a book. I'm buying
the shit out of this.
I was trying in vain to look like Bruce Willis in that photo, and it does.
Return to Bruno. You're going to do the Return to Bruno.
It never worked. It never worked.
Do we have any other? Jatana's hand shot up.
I was just going to ask if I could have the book because I'm interested. I want to read
bold. That is bold. Brass balls. just coming out and asking
girl.
for it.
See,
she did ask what a comic book was. I feel like if anybody's going to benefit from said book, it would be the person who does not know what this is.
Listen, if you need to hook her up with something, I got something that's just as good that didn't
Heroin.
cost,
This is heroin.
that didn't cost $50 as a hardcover.
You're saying
I'm just saying. I
He
can.
doesn't want to give it to her.
Yeah. Here's the deal.
Open your mouth, girl. Here it
We
comes.
can all win this way. See, this way I can spread the love of Robert E. Howard around a little bit.
Oh,
see?
Jesus. Anybody else? And then we'll go.
Does that come with antibiotics?
What do you got?
Mark Finn.
Yeah.
Whenever Hollywood inevitably produces the movie about your life,
This is already pretty
which
fucking
actor
good.
will voice you and or
Is it an animated movie?
Oh my God! Yeah,
It's an animated movie.
you sold the piss out of it with the anime.
Yeah, it had me animated. I was actually gonna. I had a different answer completely.
it's claymation.
Call Gat.
Oh, Jesus!
I'll tell you who I want, and then I'll tell you who they're going to give me. All right? I want Bobcat Goldthwait to voice me. They're going to give me Jack Black.
I was gonna say Kyle Gass.
Oh, see, yeah, he doesn't have the delivery.
Hang on,
Oh, yeah.
Bobcat, like, as...
No.
Bobcat
Yeah, that Bobcat. I want
Christ.
Shakes the Clown Bobcat Goldthwait.
That's got it. Like,
yeah.
is that the eyes have it?
Eyes have it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's your name? What's your name again, brother?
Nick.
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 Congratulations, Nick.
Nick.
An embarrassment of riches.
Hang on, I'm congratulating myself.
I'm really a small son of a bitch.
Oh God!
Now that is volume 2, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
So now I have to go by
You asshole!
You're still $50 off on the and that can be special ordered right here at Geekopolis.
Geekopolis.
See what I did?
Lovely.
More than willing.
See what I did?
More than
We
willing.
call that in the business a dovetail.
Boom, suckers.
Mark, thank you so much for fucking being on the show.
My
Guys,
pleasure.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
being
thanks for
here.
showing
We
up, really.
cannot stress enough how incredible that is. Once again, you guys can find us. You can listen to this episode and all of our past episodes if you go to youtube.com and search Alan Moore's Porch. You can subscribe to our channel, and you'll be the first in the know every time we do another one of these ridiculous things that you just sat through. You can also find us on Twitter at Alan Moore's Porch, all one word, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Alan Moore's Porch. Guys, from the bottom of my heart, my name is Justin Partridge. That is my co-host, Rocky Turner. For Mark Finn and all of us here at the Porch, thank you and good night.
Thanks, guys. I didn't.
Sorry, man. God damn it. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate you.
Thanks very much.
Brian, unlock the doors.
Did that work out?
Is
Is that all right?